I swear every time I do this, I get nervous every single time because I have so many windows and there's an echo that I have. So give me a minute before we get started. So in the meantime, just give me let me know where you're from. Give me one, guys. And I can't start over because I sent the link out. Okay, I think I found what was talking to me, which is obviously not a good thing. But anyways, guys, we're here tonight on a Thursday. I like to do these every 2 weeks. It used to be every week, but between interviews and podcasts and webinars, it was kind of a little bit too much. So we wanted to make sure that I was giving you the information in a timely manner so that you understand what's going on. Also, making sure that we're bringing you some amazing voices in our housing community and elected officials and everyone who's so entrenched into the housing industry and the housing crisis that we're in. So tonight we're going to have some uncomfortable conversations like we normally do, which is okay because I think that's what brings us solutions. Because everyone says that they want affordable housing. Everyone says they need more rental housing. Everyone says that we need to protect tenants. But here's the question nobody seems to want to answer. Who pays for it? Because every new rule, every new requirement, every new inspection, every new cost, and every new layer of regulation doesn't just magically disappear. Someone pays. And tonight we're going to talk about that with someone we're going to talk about that with someone who knows too well this. She's a firecracker. I love how I found her through Chatham. She was speaking and fighting the rent eviction licensing, which we're going to get right into what's happening in Chatham with that. But Sarah, are you ready to get yourself into a bit of trouble tonight?
I sure am. Yeah. It's unfiltered for a reason, right?
Because I don't want this to be a landlord rant. I don't want it to be a tenant bashing show. I want us to actually have a conversation. And Sarah, I'm going to challenge you, and I hope you challenge me as well, because I love it when someone interviews me and my thought process. Sometimes I overshare, and we're going to let the audience decide where they actually stand. So before we get in and get started, I want you to go over into YouTube, because that's usually where we can see the comments a little bit better. So on the Ontario Landlords Watch YouTube channel. And is the government's housing policies making it easier or harder to provide rental housing? So just comment easier, harder, and just don't vote. Just tell us why it's making it easier and harder, because we want to be able to take your voice. And when I speak to elected officials or when I use my platform to talk about our issues, I want to hear it from it as well. So you guys do that. While we're doing that, Sarah, what's going on in Chatham? We're trying to follow, but we got 444 municipalities, and I want you to be our ears and eyes to Chatham. And hey, giving us an article or a quick video from you just to keep us in the know of what's happening in Chatham. What's happening? Because it's absolutely contagious. It's like chicken pox going on with this.
That's the thing that I'm so worried about, right? I'm like, little old Chatham, usually we're down here and nothing, up north really affects us. But then now all of these policies, I'm really concerned with them starting to trickle down, starting with the rent eviction bylaw, which we all know that it doesn't really do anything, but that's my opinion. And there was really no actual data that was brought to council, but they think it helps. But anyways, our bylaw starts October 1st, 2026. It's going to be $500 per unit. And then
how much per unit?
$500 per unit.
Okay, so definitely going to be different from across the board, no matter which way you look at it. Okay.
Yeah. So
that's the same. Is that for the initial cost, and then is it the same cost as they renew each and every year?
I have no idea. I don't know. If I tried briefly, I think once you're advocating and you're going to all the meetings and you're going to council and doing your deputations, and then once you hear that they've accepted and they ruled in favor of the rent eviction bylaw, you're just like, okay, you stopped. Really, not like you stopped caring, but you stopped fighting because it's already happening and there's not much you can do about it. We don't really get into it. Like at our business, we don't really get into it as a landlord. We don't really do renovations anyways. But still, when there is a legitimate renovation, they
Yeah.
even coined that term. It drives me bananas.
Oh, it's been driving me crazy since the beginning. I'm like, why is
Yes.
it gonna look like it's bad before? And again, like we talk about this on other episodes because it's a different city and it's becoming another issue for that city. And we say, is it to introduce and to stop housing providers from renovating their units and keeping it clean and safe for the tenant? Or is it about cracking down on bad faith evictions, right? Like deep down, that's what it initially was to start. Now we had the same thing in Kitchener and they decided to go through with it. Now some of these policies are more severe than other municipalities, but I sent that video to Doug Ford and I said, like, you got to look at this and what they introduced. Number two, of how they're bashing the province for not implementing your Bill 97, which really cracked down on any landlords considering doing this bad. But we also have to consider that why are people doing this in the beginning of why would they take a risk and do a bad faith eviction? What do you think, Sarah?
You and I know that nobody files the N13. You don't do it. It's a negotiation tactic that some landlords may use, but nobody actually goes through with it. So that's where I was trying to explain that to council and to just basically to everybody in the public. I think it was like less than 30. They didn't really even have any data for Chatham-Kent on actual bad faith evictions. So you're putting this renovation bylaw in, and anybody that's actually, going to try and do renovations, it now has additional costs where you're not really solving the problem because I can give a fake document that says I need you to be out and say you have so-and-so time. Like, it doesn't make any sense anyways. And nobody actually files it.
You're on to something there, because when we talk about the data and we see some data from Ottawa and we see some data coming in from like Waterloo, where they said there was 34 applications that were filed within a 5-year time frame, like 5 years, 34, didn't give us the breakdown of like big landlords, multiple units versus the small landlords, trying to keep up with aging infrastructure. But when it came down to understanding what is that magical cost now to the taxpayers, it's so easy to blame the developer. It's so easy to blame those greedy landlords. But overall, is that those are the people providing the housing that government can't, or nonprofit housing providers, which we'll talk about them later in the show, but they can't even keep up with the maintenance on their own property. And what drives me nuts, Sarah, is that this is a bylaw policy that is exempting government and nonprofit housing providers as well, because they need to be able to tell everybody to leave. They can flatten their 80-year-old property and they're going to rebuild because they got the land and they need to create more units. So again, do you know how much it's going to cost the taxpayers in Chatham if they implement, or they're going to implement, the renoviction licensing, and how much it's actually going to cost taxpayers? Because in Waterloo, it's going to be costing approximately $800,000 to solve a non-issue.
Right. First, just a pin in that one. How do you make so that the housing for nonprofits and government social housing is exempt from that, but private landlords are? That just blows my mind. Again, I didn't read the full entirety of the renovation, but how is there a double standard there? That just blows my mind. And then, so they're going to be hiring a licensing assistant for the non-existent issue. And it's $152,000 a year. And then eventually they're going to roll it into like the, I think it comes out of reserves or something like that. And then eventually they'll roll it into the 2028 budget. But I really hope that, you know how they do like the pilot projects and things like that, like Windsor did their pilot project with the licensing, and then they scrapped it. I'm hoping that municipalities will see that, you know, there's the benefits to it. Is does it outweigh the cost, right? So if it's going to cost us 152,000 and you had 10 applications all year and somebody's just sitting there twiddling their thumbs, does that make sense? Did they achieve what they needed to achieve? Is there any sort of accountability for this renovation bylaw? I guess accountability is not really the word, but does it really even make sense to have this bylaw and these costs that are associated? So I'm hoping that they will go back, review, and say, you know what, let's, maybe we should retract. It didn't really, there wasn't really a huge issue, but
that's wishful thinking, Sarah. It's wishful thinking, but you and I both know that the staff to many of these municipalities are telling council, don't do it. Like, it's too costly. It's not going to prevent the bad faith evictions, because landlords can still apply to the landlord and tenant board underneath the N13. The only thing is, you're hoping on a tenant ratting on their landlord system in order to report it to their municipality, and then the municipality is going to fine the landlord for not getting an actual license to renovate, and then they're going to have to go through the administrative penalty system, which is considering a third party, which is obviously paid for by the taxpayer, and it's not even going to be really considered a third party, in my opinion, because the city now needs to go ahead and like have their lawyers, have their administrator to be there for each and every case if the tenants are actually ratting themselves, their landlords out, that the landlord didn't even apply for a piece of paper. Again, who is paying for this process? It's the taxpayers, and it's not even going to accomplish diddly squat. Now, before we jump in, I want to get your thought process, but I want to remind people, like you're talking about the pilot program, here is the landlord licensing survey that the city of Hamilton has now done. The deadline is the 24th of August. Sorry, guys, I find out that I got to make a post and I get it out there. So make sure you are filling this out. People are like, it wants to know what ward you're in. And I think it really is closed-minded to the people who are actually interested in investing into Hamilton. I think they need to hear from potential investors. So people are like, it asks for your ward and what street. So I would consider Googling the mayor of Hamilton's rental address as the area that you're in. So do a quick Google, Mayor of Hamilton's rental property address, put that in there, fill out the survey. You have the tenants, you have the landlords, and you got the general public that's happening in there where they want to hear from, I guess, all three. But I also think that this is about, you know, how many tenants do we have that are paying attention? How many landlords are paying attention? This is where we're going to, you know, figure out where our policies and our goals align within the city. So put that in there. Sarah, I have so much to say within our.
There's so many things, because you just jumped into that. Because I'm like, I read it. I went to go and do the survey, and it was like, hey, like you have to have a ward, and I'm like, I don't know a ward. So then I didn't do it. But what floored me was the cost.
Yeah.
The licensing. I'm like, they just, and I know we're going to get into it, but I'm just like, layer after layer and cost after cost. They're just killing us. $750 a unit per year. Is that right? Or is it per property? It's per year, per unit.
It's per property, per unit, per year. So this is what we have to kind of consider, that, you know, sometimes there's people like landlords are out there and saying, hey, it's happening in London. Like it's working for us. It's no big deal. You're doing the inspections, and maybe the inspections are going to be helpful, because with Bill 10, all the numbers come together in my head. With Bill 10, it's going to make landlords responsible for the tenant's criminal activity. So if you have a city coming in there and doing their inspections, now who's on the hook for not reporting the inspections? You know, what are they inspecting for? Are they looking for drug activity? Are they only looking for the wear and tear?
Prove, because none of the behavior and everything.
Yeah.
You know, people laying on couches. Oh my gosh, I just went through a tribunal with this, and I'm like, I can't even kick these people out and it's been a year and they found a loaded gun and $50,000. Like there's so much. Kayla, we can't even.
We're on TikTok. We're seeing SWAT come into government housing units on Lena Crescent. Like it's what people call them, that place. It's like, oh my God. Like, yeah, I'm not going to say that I'm unfiltered, but I'm not that unfiltered. I still want to build relationships with our politicians.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there's so many things. There's so many regulations, and it's one after another and after another. And at what point does it stop? I don't even know. But back to the Chatham Kent rent eviction bylaw. I do hope that they come back after a couple of years and say, you know what, like there's no need for this position. We did what we need to do. We did the campaign. We've educated the public. That's great, but it doesn't justify $150,000 in more staff. And then not just staff. And I hope that's across the board in all the renovation bylaws, and just getting rid of those altogether. Hopefully that's what happens, and nobody will fix anything in the meantime.
And you know what, it struggles. Like I think like I have this video of we're going to get into a little bit more regarding the Advocacy Center for Tenants Ontario. I'm going to talk about them a little bit more in the show, but this is a gentleman who was at the Kitchener renoviction licensing, talking about how he hears about the more severe cases. So I'm going to play it. It's a little quick clip, so just bear with me. Hold on, we'll get it up here.
We here at ACTO hear the worst situations where it's replacing a counter or a door needs to be replaced. Anyone who's ever done any renovations in their home or any family or friends, they know that there are some renovations that you just go outside, take a walk in the local park, and you come back and the work is done. The N13 is a process where a repair is necessary and vacant possession is necessary. And renovation bylaws act as it dissuades bad faith landlords from acting improperly, leaving only those N13s that are necessary.
So this is someone who is paid for by taxpayers, you know, having this organization available to advocate on tenants' behalf. And then I'm not naive. We know we have some bad landlords out there, but at the same time, trying to say you hear the worst and it's about replacing counters. Like when you're out of a bathroom, when you're disrupting someone's cooking area, when you're interfering with a tenant's reasonable enjoyment of a property and now risk that tenant bringing the landlord to the landlord and tenant board because they've impacted the tenant's reasonable enjoyment. And now you have to give them money back on their rent just because the landlord was trying to improve their freaking unit.
Well, and then on top of that, it's like, okay, if they're like, okay, we have to replace, you know, a light fixture and then we need to renovate. Okay, fine. But $100,000, is that not what it is now? $100,000 they can be fined through the Ontario, through LTB.
Bill 97 has been proclaimed. If a landlord, you're not doing a bad faith eviction, it is $100,000 as an individual and up to $500,000 as a corporation.
So why would anybody in their right mind do it? It doesn't make sense. And what does this municipal bylaw, what are they going to do? What is that going to do?
We're going to stop the taxpayers' money. That's what it's going to do. That's all it's going to do.
That was actually going back to my one thought. How are they going to enforce, and what type of fines are they going to put on you if you don't follow the renovation? That I would love to know what that looks like, because I doubt it's going to be $100,000.
I would love to know that one, because at the same time, you're going through the administrative penalty system. And if they can charge me for doing less than 5 centimeters of snow, that takes literally 3 minutes, and they took 2 hours to do it, and they charged me $700 for a city. I'd love to know what kind of fines that the city plans to do, because I find that a lot of municipalities are now taking in this bylaw, property standards, working themselves into the Residential Intensity Act, trying to be like, you know, the watcher to housing in itself, and they're now becoming a mini version of the landlord and tenant board. So we have to be very careful. Like, I love what the government did, the Conservatives, with Bill 60, but they're under attack from their municipalities, because the municipality is now doing backwards. They're playing tug of war with what the province is doing, what the municipality is doing. And we have to question why. Like, why are the municipalities like this? They feel like the municipalities are acting more like an NDP. And then we have the Conservatives, right? So we really need to kind of question what's going on, but it is a good, really good question, Sarah. And I think, you know what, as this election is inspiring throughout Ontario, we got to be very careful of who we're electing in for that next 4 years. Like, this is a long 4 years. Like, you think about being in a bad relationship, like this could be a very bad relationship. And,
Well,
and Sarah, I hope
yeah.
that you can provide us with your wish list of potential candidates and counselors who we keep or who we don't. And I want to be able to post that so that at least we know where to go. Like, we have 444 municipalities. You can consider how many candidates we have. So please, that's my wish list to you. So write it down.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So we have one thing, like 5 things. We, as a property manager, we manage several people who do not live in Chatham-Kent. However, if they own their properties personally, then they can vote for Chatham-Kent. So that, I'm like gathering all my information. I'm like, who is a landlord-friendly counselor, who's a landlord-friendly mayor, who's talking about renovations, who's, you know, out there advocating. You know what? Of course, everybody deserves, you know, comfortable, clean, safe housing. We do. Absolutely. But they're jumping in before, you know, the cart, put their cart in the cart before the horse, right? They don't really know what they're talking about. So I have a list.
It's more like you're onto it. I'm just going to be the unfiltered part.
Yeah.
They're kowtowing to special interest groups.
Yes.
And we're not looking for just candidates that are very landlord friendly. We're going to look for candidates that are common sense, that don't just look at the landlord as, you know, they're going to give me votes, they're going to give me money, because everyone knows the tenants there's more tenants than there are landlords. But if you see one policy change at a municipal level that can impact the very people providing housing, which will in turn impact the tenants and impact the taxpayers, that's the type of counselor you're going to be looking for. The ones that have that common sense, the ones that can see the bigger picture and not just be in a word salad. Like, we have a mayor that I loved and trust for, she made me who I was. Could we return it back to the way it was with the water billing in 4 years? No. And that's where I'm very shocked and very disappointed, which I am now looking at different candidates for my mayor. And this is why it's very important to understand, like, just because you have a friendship, you need to know that you got to put your money where your mouth is. If you're not producing, you got to go. And we need some fresh eyes on this. This is why I'm going to put a pop-up here, because I want to encourage you guys to really get involved. And this is my first time. So I'm going to show you guys a picture. First time doing this. Put this in the baby book. This is me canvassing. And this is Helen Schwary. She is the Ward 1 counselor in Cambridge. She has gotten voted in through a by-election. She's a double lung transplant survivor. She is a common sense businesswoman that cuts through the bullshit. And I absolutely love her. Not because she did the water billing, because it never got pushed through. It never got changed. But I'm out there door knocking for her. I'm door knocking, one, because she has what it takes to be a really good counselor. And I think anyone who is running in any ward in any city should model off of what Helen is doing, because she's absolutely a firecracker. And I'm telling you, I was a little nervous door knocking.
Yeah, what are you going to get?
Are you gonna get eggs? Are you gonna like people hate politicians? And I don't blame them because they come in there thinking that like we have like Scott Hamilton, a city councilor who is out there and he literally made a complaint about me to the clerk because I thought it was very inappropriate for a city councilor to moderate a federal debate. And I made that post online and he made a complaint with the city clerk to try to get me to be removed from the city committee. So I'm like, are you serious? So like, and then he's doing these videos and thinking like you deserve a better leader and you deserve, and like, you know what, dude, like don't come on here and pretend that you have two jobs. Between your two jobs at United Way and working as a city councilor and then your wife, you're making good money. I hate when we see that kind of gaslighting from someone that's in your municipality. So that's my little rant. I'm not going to go far into it. There is a little bit of a dive into nonprofits that I will do later, which I'll get into that. But I need you guys to pay attention to what I've been learning since 2010 as I start to get very entrenched into landlording and housing and policies and politics. So put that where it's worth. It's just my personal opinion.
Yes. And I don't think I've ever paid more attention than now because of all the changes to housing and what are these counselors. We have so many people running, like record highs in all of our wards.
Yeah.
And when I'm looking at these and their platforms, and nobody actually says what they're going to do. Nobody actually says how they're going to make change. They're just like, I'm going to change and I'm going to do this better. But then when you look at it, you're like, okay. One guy's talking about development charges and he's like, oh, well, that's already done by the province. I'm like, whoa. You should probably look at what you're talking about before you like make a social media post about development charges and the province has already waived those, because that's not how it works.
Yeah.
They may have waived some development charges, but there's so much criteria that you have to, I don't know if it's 20 units or what exactly it is, but there's so many hoops you have to jump through before you can even get that. And then, I wish they would say this is what I stand for. This is how I think we can make change. And vote for him on that. Like I have counselors, and I respect them. Mm-hmm. They may be liberals, but at least they know what they stand for.
Yeah,
they're not wishy-washy. They stand for the XYZ. That's great. At least you know. But then you've got all these other candidates. They're like, oh, I stand for this and this, and then it's like, and they have no idea what they're even talking about.
But when we have people who know what they stand for, I'm voting you in to be the voice of the ward. I'm voting you in to be a voice, not just what you want as a counselor. Yeah. And this is where I said, why is like with technology and AI and everything that we have today, why isn't there a possibility where we could have a community, if it's, connected, you can sign up for it. And through that community, you are getting told by your counselor what's being brought to council in layman terms and say, which way do you want me to vote for you? And then they go based on the majority of the public. That would be a great way to really make people feel like they're inclusive into what's happening. And this is where like, I got Marty's thing. He's like, can you vote in any municipality that you personally own property? Now you can, but I don't know the rule of when the election comes, like, are you allowed to vote in the municipality in which you live and rent? So I'm going to get more information, but you definitely can vote in the city in which you own rental, just like you can run if you rent or own a property in any municipality. And I think now is a great time to put a link in to the person who I've been backing. So I'll put Ryan Bolander for mayor of Cambridge. I got, you guys are great. You're following, you're watching, you're sharing this content and subscribing to my YouTube channel. Cause I want to make sure people understand like why I'm doing this. You know what I mean? And if I make a post, I want them to know why. And it breaks my heart that I'm literally not able to support a candidate any longer, but sometimes you just need to have fresh eyes on an issue. And there's going to be lots of reasons why, but we'll get into that why. But Sarah, you've been posting a lot about another topic that's hitting every landlord's heart regarding the temperature. The temperature
Yes.
bylaw, and it's in Toronto, and it's coming to Chatham, it's coming everywhere because the tenant organizations, they're very established, and they're established because A, they get funding. Two, there's a lot more of them, and a lot of them don't have, like, they have the time to be able to go ahead and put time and effort into it to make sure that they can get their message out there. For landlords, myself, we got multiple things that are on the go, but what's your thoughts? Like, why are they really trying? Before we get your thoughts, I got a video for you. I gotta make sure I get the right video because I got so many videos to show you tonight. This one was on the news, and I had to comment on TikTok as well. And it's a screen share, so bear with me.
Energy that they use in their apartments. It sounds good on paper that people can no longer be blocked by their landlord from installing air conditioning units, something that's become more and more necessary as summers are getting hotter and hotter. But we heard from some members of Acorn about just what sort of problems it's in the pressures it's putting on their pocketbooks. Take a listen.
Tenants where utilities are included is given landlords free rein to charge whatever they want to in hydro costs for the use of air conditioning. As summers are getting hotter, that's just not fair for tenants with utilities included. It's an extra cost, not just because landlords can charge, I've heard, anywhere between $600 or more just for a few months of air conditioning to, have just real relief with these hot temperatures.
Landlords are supposed to be able to, or have to prove rather, that there is an increase in their energy use, and there are mechanisms for tenants to get rebates or refunds if they feel that they've been done wrong by their landlord. But what the tenants we're hearing from today are asking for is relief at the beginning, a greater subsidy program, and also an expanded program to offer free air conditioning units to people who need them. Reporting live, I'm Siobhan Morris. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you. Now that was live. And now Sarah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I was just going to put a pin in that one really quick. So Marty was asking about if you can vote in your municipality. In Chatham, Kent, you just have to register. So you can register and you can vote. I don't know what it's like in any other municipalities. I just know if you own property in Chatham, Kent, that you can register to vote for your council and your ward. So that's that.
So we might be able to vote in all the cities that you own rental properties.
If it's owned personally, because people can vote, corporations cannot.
And you know what? I think Andrew from Hamilton, he said he's like neighboring cities like Burlington. He wanted to get that message out to landlords as well, saying, hey, you can also vote in Hamilton. Now, don't get me wrong. I like what he's doing right now. I just don't, I need to do more research before I can say, let's vote for Andrew. I think his name is Sleeman. But great. Thank you. Thank you, Sarah, because it's important. Like this is our time to shine. If not, you're going to be like with Andrea again.
Oh my gosh.
Don't worry. I got her competitor video coming up here soon.
Oh gosh. So there's so many things that are wrapped up in that. One, if you rent a property the way it is, why are you adding more costs to a landlord? That's just the first thing. You rent a property. Why would I have to add more amenities? I don't understand that. So there's that. And then there's two. So there was actually an article written by Legal Aid, and they did, it was an interview in our local paper. I chuckle because I'm like, you're getting old when you start writing in the opinion to your local paper.
No, you have to do it. You have to do it.
You have to have
me old, Sarah.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny. I was like, oh wow, this is where we are. But honestly, like it seems so simple. Yes, $150 or a $200 AC unit, and we'll put it in you put it in the window and away you go. But that's not the case. When you have, and I have so many properties that are older, and not just me, but I was talking with a social housing worker, and I said to her, I'm like, what's interesting? I said, how many of your units, your social housing work units, have AC? And she's like, not very many, only new ones. And guess how many, like she's obviously, these are not verified numbers, but like if you've got 75 to 80% of your units that are older, and this is social housing, they're not built and they're not meant to have AC. You have to have a designated line. I'm getting calls all the time. My hydro is going out in half of the room and everything's breaking, and the breakers are going, and you try to reset it. Well, the breakers are aging. So then when you have too many things on that one circuit, then it trips the breaker. And then so many times it's tripping the breaker, it then, and again, I'm not an electrician, but then your breaker then goes and you need new breakers. So there's not enough hydro basically in these units, in these aging units, to support AC units in every bedroom. Sometimes not even enough at all, because you've got your fridge and your stove and all of these. There's not enough hydro in these buildings. So I mean, I have to now.
You don't think about, like, it sounds great, like you want everyone cool, but there's also a level of expense that these elected officials, who are not investors, who are not contractors, they don't really know. But what they do know is that it makes them sound absolutely loving and caring to the tenants who are in their community, and that's why they're absolutely doing it.
Yeah. And there's just, and I'm like, and it goes on and on and on. I know, and I don't want to ramble on how much expense it is, but it's like,
no, this is our show. You can ramble all you want,
right? I'm just like, okay, so on top of the, and it can go so far. So you have what, you're going to have to upgrade your panel, the cost to upgrade your panel, and then you're going to have all of this new infrastructure across all of the social housing, and then who's going to pay for all of that? We are.
Well, it's that program that they have in Toronto where they have Olivia Chow on TikTok showing a video of her delivering these AC units to people, seniors, people who are in low income, to making it look like it's a priority. And that's what her goal is as a city mayor, but not knowing that it comes from taxpayers. Like when we have people sleeping on the streets. So you're going to take the money from taxpayers to provide air conditioning when we have people who can't even escape. You know, it's mismanagement of this housing crisis, because they're literally kowtowing to different special interest groups of what they want. Like, we have to understand as a society what our wants are and what our needs are. And this is where it comes down to, where they don't even, before they wanted permission, you got your permission. Put it in safely. I'm not going to babysit you. Give me the information that I need to determine how much usage and how much hydro you're going to use to make sure my system does not get overloaded. But if it does, don't come after me because my unit is not giving you everything that you need, and now it's ruining your enjoyment as the tenant. So again, it comes down to, and this is why this is something that I've been working on, and I'll tell you guys, like, I'm trying to get a roundtable discussion. I have city councilors from different levels, different cities, as well as, you know, current paralegals. I have former paralegals. I have people who are strategists. Like, I have realtors. Like, I want to have a roundtable discussion with the Minister of Housing, his associate Grayson Smith. I need the Doug Downey. I need his associate Michael Tabolo. I need the Minister of Finance. Don't get me on his name right now, because I swear they changed so much. But and then we also need the Minister of Social Services. Like, there needs to be a round discussion about what is happening in our industry, because we can't help others if they don't help us. But what we see right now is that we're seeing a lot of these elected officials creating this divide and trying to make it look like these landlords are out there to take advantage of these poor tenants.
Yeah.
They're trying to make it look like all landlords are rich and greedy and all tenants are poor, and that we're taking advantage of them. Like, it makes sense right now for many to rent. My daughter is 22 years old. She just put her offer in on a duplex because she needs a place for herself. And I'm telling you, she's struggling. She's struggling to do it herself, but she's doing it herself. But she also had to take 2 jobs when she was in high school to do it. So, like, what are we actually teaching our society? You know, are we teaching them, do you want to hand up or do you want to hand out? Like, what is actually, because those people in those videos, they want to hand out. They don't want the hand up. They want to be able to have someone say, here is the air conditioning, and don't worry about the increase in rent. Like, I'm sorry, landlords are not, we're not a part of the government. We can't subsidize you.
No, and then like when she's like, "Oh, it's $600." Okay, let's do the math here. Has anybody like what is our AC bills for my house running an AC unit? And that is like operating energy efficiently a little bit more. Like a lot of these housing, they're not going to be energy efficient, but and on a regular AC unit. So you've got these electric window AC portable units, the hydros through the roof on them. We know that. And of course, get back to that because they do get subsidized for their hydro. But
they so internet too. $10.
It's like easy from May to September. May, June, July, August, September, 5 months at least. My hydro bill is more than $100 when I'm starting to run the AC unit. 100%. So like $600 is not like asking for the world. It's realistic. Yeah. And if you were to compare your hydro bills from those months, then like we're not asking for the world. We just want our expenses to be covered.
Yeah. Like you can't sit there and expect the landlords to absorb everything. We're struggling. We're going to, and then I'm telling you right now, we had one of our members, and I was saying, "Hey guys, we're going live tonight." And he said, "Thanks for fighting the good fight. Me and Pablo, say hi from Mexico." Like, these landlords are leaving, right? And this is where our last
oh my gosh.
Where are they leaving to? And the ones who are potentially cash flowing right now. But I'm talking about landlords now are cash. They're not cash flowing. They're breaking even. And they just said, "Listen, if this landlord licensing comes into play, I'm done. I'm going to sell it." And they're going to sell it to an owner occupier. Like, it's not going to be an actual, it's not going to be a rental anymore. And that's sad. It's sad. It's unfortunate because our government cannot keep building and managing and maintaining and subsidizing. But the other part is that we're actually in competition now, not only with the government, but we're also in competition with co-ops. But people think, "Hey, this is great." But what happens, Sarah, when you get these units built, managed, maintained, and subsidized? What goes wrong in these government funded houses? You sent me a report. Talk a little bit about that report that you sent me today.
Well, it's so funny because, we're landlord advocates. So you never really look at the other side. Mm-hmm. So I was sitting with a friend who she's in social housing, and she's like, and then we're talking and then we're just like, same people we have evicted, same people that, the police officers are dealing with. And I'm just like, it kind of dawned on me. I'm like, wow, like social housing is still dealing with the same, they're still have damage to their units. They're evicting people. So what do you do when you're evicted from social housing and private housing? Just wondering, where do you go then? Because I'm not really sure. Then they're homeless, but then it just recycles. I don't know. And they're still homeless. So if you can't be in social housing and you can't be in private housing, where are they going to go?
Mm-hmm. And that's why it's going to be very hard for anyone within that to get evicted from the landlord and tenant board in itself, because they know it's the end of the road. I actually got called from a regional counselor at the time. She brought me in. We had coffee. She brought police officers, and I'm like, "Holy shit, what's going on? Like, is this am I being arrested?" She's like, "We have this couple. They're living in their van in Home Depot, and they're not getting approved for government housing. Like, what's going on?" I'm like, "They were probably in government housing. They didn't pay their amount owing." And I think this is where I'm going to do another show, because we are starting to go down that rabbit hole to find out how much is outstanding for people living in government housing, even though they have portable housing benefits, they have OW, they have ODSP, and they're still outstanding in the amount owing. And now we're seeing an increase in people or nonprofits complaining about that it's eating into their expenses, because the turnover is happening quite frequently, and they also need to put in money to get it back into a safe, livable property standards kind of way. And and we look at what we spent in housing and what it is. And I want to show you guys this image. Let me look for it here, because I know I had it. I better have it.
I
Okay.
know, yeah,
You,
we
you
had a
talk to it,
report.
Sarah, because I want to make sure I took a picture while my kid was like in the back seat. So talk based on that, what your thought process is.
Yeah. So recently there was a report that went to our municipal, to CK council, and it was just on housing maintenance. And then basically the summary reads, housing expenses have been steadily increasing in recent years due to a rise in ongoing maintenance issues and an increase in tenant damages and emergency repairs. Aging buildings combined with more frequent and complex tenant-related challenges have contributed to higher wear and tear on units and common areas. As a result, there has been a growing need for urgent repairs, unit restoration, and preventative maintenance, all of which place additional pressure on operating budgets and increase overall housing costs. So
Oh,
how do they see that? And those are reports from the housing, but yet when us landlords that are private are, yelling, saying like all of these things, it just boggles my mind that they don't understand.
remember, because Sarah, you're for profit. You're
Right.
for profit. You're not costing the taxpayers anything. For that matter, you should be punished and deal with what nonprofits who are not making money, they should have some leniency. But you and I both know, like I'm talking, guys, and I want you to go down the rabbit hole, comment back on this video. I want you to look up the Nonprofit Housing Association and give me the dollar amount in which the cost to attend their conference. Maybe I want to get into nonprofit. Maybe I do. Maybe I want to come to their conference. Give me the dollar amount, because my conference was like $250. Find it, put it in. I'll put your name in for a draw of something that's going to come out. Like I want you guys to do the research yourself. I don't want you to believe everything that I'm telling you, but this is what I'm telling you to do. Like this is something that we need to go down, and we need to pay attention to what is actually happening, because I can tell you right now that there is people out there, and this is where I might have said this on a previous video that I've stated, that there was Michelle Fury. She is a former MP, and she had posted a lady that stated, "Hey, this is why solve homelessness when it benefits." And because this Egyptian, they went to Egypt, this advocate was going to be speaking at this event, and she extended her stay, and I reshared it and said, this is the same thing. You're vilifying these landlords who are providing housing, which government can't. And this gentleman, he's the president of the Canadian Alliance to End Homelessness, he said, "Please put me out of a job. There's not one person that I've met in 20 years that is doing this for the money." And I researched his name, and it turns out that he is actually he's making about $220,000 plus $14,000 in benefits. So
Wouldn't that be great if we were making that? That'd be fantastic.
I know. Can you imagine, as a private landlord, we're making that and hiring people and traveling and spending $30,000 in marketing material? Like, let's be real here. Like, call it out like it is. I know a lot of elected officials are onto this, but at the same time, you're coming out there and asking for an audit. It's deep down. If you're an organization asking for money to deal with a social issue that is so big, like mental health, addiction, and homelessness, I would expect that our government, before they give money to that organization, they would do an audit. I want to see what money you have, where it's going, and where it's being delivered. For some reason, this video, this picture, it's not downloading for some reason, and I'll just talk about it, but it's the tent encampment in Kitchener, and they legitly have it where they have a rock out front. Sometimes it's plastered, but they have it spray painted. 56 million spent on homelessness 2024. Money's being spent, but nothing's being delivered. And before I know we're coming close to time, I'm going to be a little over, because I only do this every 2 weeks, and Sarah is totally up for it, right, Sarah?
I'm up for it.
This is Rob Cooper. Now, don't get me wrong, he's a little wishy-washy with the whole landlord licensing and everything that's happening in Hamilton. He's running now for mayor. I'm not going to say I support him per se, because there also is Keenan Loomis, who's I think a contender as well. But this is just listen right away to his words right when I play this video. I'll probably cut it off, but just listen to this.
What does the city of Hamilton look like?
So my goal is zero homeless. Wow, that's pretty far from where we are. I believe we can achieve it. We have the ability to get there. What we got to do is cut off the organizations that aren't delivering. Okay, invest in the ones that are. When it comes to jobs, I believe everybody should be able to work in Hamilton. People have this conversation about climate and all this stuff, and yet they push them out of Hamilton. We should bring jobs to Hamilton. I really believe we could do that. I believe Hamilton can be a place where your children, your grandchildren can live and feel safe. I believe you should be able to go to any part of Hamilton, any part of the day, and you and your family feel safe. Can't do that today. You could go some places in broad daylight and feel unsafe in Hamilton right now. Taxes would be capped at the rate of inflation. I hope we would be at a point where we're starting to talk about needing to even do the inflationary pieces, because we've built our business taxes back. So business come here, we're not at 11. A lot of other cities are more 50-50. As a matter of fact, if you go to Burlington, our sister city right now, houses are worth 30% more, taxes are 30% less. So, and that's having that right balance between business taxes and residential taxes. When it comes to planning and development, I don't want things to take years. I don't want things to take months. I want things to take weeks. I talked to the mayor of Barrie, and he's got a system that loaded all the information with respect to provincial standards around buildings, historical buildings. You just put in the area that you want to develop. You press a button, literally 5 minutes later, it gives you all your options. That takes multiple years' journey at City Hamilton right now. We just need to start looking at this thing in terms of efficiency and effectiveness. Hamilton right now takes an approach of how do we hinder people? It's almost like a gotcha mindset. We got to move more to a customer service approach. How do we help people in Hamilton? That's going to bring people back and businesses back as well. So that's my vision for Hamilton. We will be that economic hub. I guarantee we'll be the economic hub of Canada. We're going to be well on our way. Right now, we're the exact opposite of what I see. But when I talk to people, believe in that. People see Hamilton. People see it as having all this great opportunity, and we just need a vision to be able to realize.
But I gotta remove this girl. Where is she? But this is where we're kind of at. Like, he's coming with his promises and his big, but unless you have people with that same mindset around the horseshoe,
Yes.
how are you going to accomplish what you have? Right. So you have, and this is where secretly I think some counselors are supporting other, like the mayor, and as they go through the door. But before I know we're coming to an ear, and I think this is something where I need your help. I need your help into diving into this, because it came to me. I'm a little, gray into it. I don't want to accuse anybody, because I think we do have a lot of good nonprofit organizations out there, Sarah. But this is what's happening for our election, right? This is a Cambridge municipal town halls that I've never seen happen before, where the city is running these type of town halls. I can't really zoom in, but this is a Waterloo Regional Community Foundation is saying that they're the funding partner. I want you to look into that organization. Then I want you to go over to the community partners. And these are community partners who are also getting funding from government and grants. They're nonprofit. I don't see any for-profit. And a lot of these organizations, members of their organization, are going to be the moderators. So I find it very odd that we have the city giving money to nonprofit organizations, in which are the ones now funding some of these town halls that are happening. So this is where I always have stated that I think this is about a battle. I think it's a battle about the nonprofit versus for-profit. Nonprofits obviously get a little bit more of the mic, so to speak. But again, the nonprofits are always going to need that help from taxpayers that I don't think people quite understand.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because it really does blow my mind that is even happening. Like, as a director of the Chamber of Commerce, like, yes, the Chamber of Commerce we're not going to do so much as town hall, but these are the issues that us as a Chamber of Commerce would like to see from our candidates. Yep. What are your positions? But we obviously have not a criteria, but we have expectations to what we want to see from our counselors from the business community, which again, investors, same thing.
Yeah.
But when you throw a nonprofit in there that is getting government funding, like who's going to sway that conversation there? Like that doesn't make any sense to me. How is that nonpartisan?
And this is where we have like even the, this organization managing assets for other nonprofits, and those nonprofits that they manage assets for are asking for money, so look into the organization. Whose assets are they managing and getting money? Like even the Cambridge Memorial Hospital, like how do you asking for money from the government, but then donating money to an organization? It's mind boggling. I don't have the full capabilities of digging into it.
Yeah.
But I've seen people solve murder cases on TikTok. So I'm asking you to dig into some of this, social franchise that's happening, because there's a lot of money and there's a lot of salary. And I think if we really dive deep into, landlords are a certain section. We also have taxpayers, and we need to make sure that their money is being managed efficiently. And I think that's where Rob is on. He knows that, like, cut off the funding to the ones that are not delivering and donate to the ones who are delivering, because deep down, small landlords, they're not a social agency. They're not a social worker. We know we have people with complex needs. We know that the Association of Municipalities of Ontario had their conference, and they're now wanting mandatory, rehab that's coming out there for people. You put your hand up. What do you got to have? Say it, Sarah.
I don't love AMO. I know they do.
I wanted to go, but I didn't have like $1,000 to get to, the ticket, then to go to Ottawa. But I know it was a great opportunity to.
Oh my gosh, we had so many counselors attending. But what's frustrating is I sat in on a webinar, and it just happened to pop up on my LinkedIn, and I don't think I was really supposed to be in it. And actually, I'd asked Teresa, I'm like, we need to be on this webinar. And it was just talking about, it was ACTO talking about something to do with housing. And then I'm just like floored. I'm like, all they hear is one side. They hear one side of the eviction, of the renoviction. I think it might have been renovictions. It was something. But the big thing that stood out was they only hear one side. So when you have all of your municipal administration only being fed one side of the story, how is that even fair? And how do they have a clear picture of how things actually work? Because they won't, because landlords are bad and tenants are the victim. And not all, like I have amazing tenants, and we need tenants, and I love them, and they're fantastic. But there are several, we call it the 80-20 rule. It's among everything. 80% of my tenants are good and 20% are challenging. But like, how is that fair when you have an organization that is being fed only one side of the story?
And they're getting fed one side of the story because they're only funding one side of the equation. Like I've asked Hamilton Landlords Association, like, hey, like, are you guys getting funding from the city? They're like, no. I'm like, you're a non-for-profit. Why aren't you getting funding? We don't get funding. Like, we look for other companies similar to CTI, who is our Canadian Inspection Services, who sponsored what we're doing, what we're advocating for. These are the reasons why we're coming out here and trying to like expose what is happening, because until you've been entrenched into this industry like I have as an advocate, and these people are never going to know what's happening, so they don't know where to really go. So check out CTI, guys, because with Bill 10 you need a third party like to back you, because you don't want to do some jail time and you don't want to be fined $250,000. So thank you to CTI for being a sponsor of Ontario Landlords Watch and doing what they can to keep us on the web and on StreamYard, because my membership is coming due in September.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so you had mentioned that they donate. How does a municipality donate to
It's usually grant money. So it's always grants. Like even for
Okay.
right now, like we're seeing our community saying, hey, do you have an idea to bring your community together for an event? We're going to give you some money. It's like, dude, we got people sleeping on the street. Like, why are you just giving money away? And then sometimes what's happening is that even when developers are coming in and they want to go ahead and they want to bring more supply to the market, they say, well, how much is affordable? Well, we're just creating markets. Nothing, it's not going to be rank geared to income. It's not going to be 30% of someone's salary. Like it's just unit.
Government's job.
And they go, okay, well, how much are you going to give us in lieu of affordable housing? And then they started taking that money, they bank that money, and now the municipalities want to start buying land. Now, I don't know if they're trying to buy land to build on that land and become their own housing provider, or are they going to buy the land, lease that land to a developer who's going to spend their money in putting properties on it, try to sell it to an owner who's going to find out later on down the road that they don't own the land? Like, I can't make this stuff up, guys. Like, this is the stuff that's happening.
It's really, there's so many things to that. So one, it infuriates me that municipalities and governments are not coming to us.
Yeah.
We build housing. We manage housing. Why are you spending millions of dollars when you can have the people who do the things? Like, why do you need a whole department to run XYZ when there are property managers? I run a 16 unit emergency shelter. We've got 16 rooms and it's for profit. But guess what? It doesn't cost anything. They make money. I have a license for our emergency shelter, and we have we abide by all the laws and all the things, but $650 for a room, and I'm getting high risk off the streets.
Yeah.
And it costs them nothing. But they go and build 50 cabins for millions and millions of dollars. And then how much is it to run it? Like, it just floors me. Why are you not talking to us? We will build it. We will run it. Come talk to us. You want to subsidize? Sure. Yeah. Give us some financing at low rates and we will build it and we will run it. And the municipalities don't have to.
And you hit it on that. Like, we had like a tiny tent encampment. It was being volunteers. A nonprofit was consulting with this in particular community who was doing it on volunteers. It couldn't go, so they either had to close up shop, but then they passed the responsibility to the region. The region now partnered with another nonprofit, the same nonprofit that was consulting with the initial nonprofit, but it's going to cost millions in order for them now to run it. So something that starts off as not a cost to the taxpayers now gets taken over by the taxpayers, because what else are you going to do? You're going to put these people on the street in a tent, or you want them in little shacks and literally live where there's animals, there's rodents around there. Like, I'm telling you, like, this is not just a housing crisis. This is a mental health. This is addiction. This is like an everything all in one. And our government is forcing it down these private landlords. So I'm not surprised that our landlords are tuck-tailing and leaving this industry, because the government doesn't invite us to the table. They have the nonprofits. They got like AMO. Like, come on, why aren't you inviting the landlords? Why is it so costly that I can't show up there to be a part of the conversation, to network with these elected officials? Because you and I both know when we're at council, how much time do you get at council, Sarah, when you're talking?
No, what do we get? 5 minutes? It's funny you say that, because there's one of the people that are running for mayor. She's like, oh, we were at the AMO conference and blah, 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 blah. And there was like 5 priorities. And they're like, and we were talking about renovations and housing stability. You're telling me at an AMO conference, you're talking about renovations? What bullshit is that? I don't even know if I'm allowed to say that on your
No,
show.
it's unfiltered. It's unfiltered.
Yeah.
If I was on a front lobby
And like,
webinar,
what is renovations that have like very, very minimal on the housing and homeless scale? That's what you're talking about at AMO.
yeah.
Oh my God.
And
I was like, okay.
And then they all take pictures. Look at us, you know.
Yes.
All these
We're
men
learning.
Like, do they not know that we see it? Like, we see it as a publicity stunt. We see it as a photo op that's happening. Like, the fact remains, if they really wanted to help tenants, even from a nonprofit, even as a for-profit, like, why aren't they reporting those tenants' rental payment history to front lobby? Why? If you're a nonprofit and you have tenants who have assistance and they're paying their rent on time, why aren't you helping that tenant grow their credit by reporting it to front lobby so that they can share it to the credit bureaus to build them up if they ever want to leave government housing? And so that they are, you're setting them up to have a stronger tenancy record. But instead now we're going to have to grow more government housing, because even for people who pay on time, things have changed. They're stuck in that loop. They're stuck in a loop because the system has been built like that for them. And every single person I've ever heard, and I love when media speaks to the people who are homeless, because they say they can't get out because of the process and how it's been, and right down to how much money they make on OW or ODSP. So I'm putting front lobby's link here, guys. So if you're a tenant, you can sign on as well. You can send an invite to your landlord. They can approve it, and they can have your data being shared to the credit bureaus to help you build your credit, so that it's not just housing, it's also through credit cards, it's also through loans. It sets you up for success. So check out front lobby. And landlords, you got a tenant that's just abusing the system, you can report that to the credit bureaus as well. So and you don't need the tenant's consent or a landlord and tenant board order to report a delinquency, but you do need the tenant's consent if you want to help them grow their credit.
That's ridiculous. Oh, and on that, so from the Ontario Chamber, from our Town Kent Chamber, which we pushed it up through the Ontario Chamber, we would love to see it mandatory credit reporting across the board. It's good for everybody. It is so hard to screen tenants right now, especially with the fraud that's happening. So if you have an actual database that says, hey, yes, they report their rent on time, rather than me being handed some written hand rent receipts, can't even take that. So we have to like dig into these poor tenants. Show me your bank statement, show me your this, and then we have to make sure that everything all aligns. But if you have an actual credit bureau that is saying, yes, they pay their rent on time, and I can see that, I can take a risk on you, because you know what? You might have bad credit, but I can see that you do pay your rent on time, and I will rent to you.
And it's not only that, it's about getting the reference of who's reporting it. Because as a landlord reports, the name and the email is there showing that they reported that data. So it allows the landlord to reach out to the other landlord to get that guaranteed, this is a reference. And I think this is something that's been like, we knew it was a part of Bill 60, where the government was going to make it easier access to have these orders being invisible for landlords. It's going to be within 30 days. But again, I would like to call it out like it is. We have people who have very common names. We don't have their birth dates. So to take an order, to say what's happening, you need to make sure that the person that is in front of you is exactly the person that you're reading off of this catalog. And everyone knows you got to download the catalog. It's being very crazy. It's very chaotic. Don't worry, front lobby got you. So stay tuned, because that's coming out for you guys, where it's going to be easier to do these catalogs. It's a tool. You need to look at it, but you need to align it with the landlord. You need to align it with your application. But most importantly, you need to be a part of that reporting the tenant's monthly payment history, regardless, good, negative. It's got to be a part of your system. This is a business. And this is why our government is trying to crack down. That's why they're trying to do landlord licensing, because they're like, hey, you are a business, just like a hairdresser, just like this business. Like, you're a business. You need it. But for housing, like, you got to be careful, because keep putting that cost onto the landlord, we're going to see that cost being passed on to the tenants. And in turn, it's going to be passed on to our taxpayers as well, because and our taxpayers are already taxed out.
We are.
Can you imagine like our taxpayers knowing that they're going to have like more of a tax increase because they're going to have to keep maintaining these properties that are being damaged from people? Like, I don't think people really quite get the drift that your taxes are going to continue to rise as long as the government wants to go on this path of being a socialist government.
You know, Kayla, it brings me, and I know it's not even on like things that we were going to talk about. It boggles my mind how people are on ODSP or OW. They fall behind in their rent, and then the government comes in and they pay thousands and thousands of dollars of arrears. I've had like almost up to $10,000. You're on OW. You're getting government assistance, and you aren't paying your rent that is supposed to be directed to housing. And then you have whichever department, because there's like 50 different departments, that comes and swoops in and like, okay, if I can preserve this tenancy, then we'll pay off the $10,000 in arrears.
Yeah.
I only manage 500 units, and it's happening all the time. And that's little old Chatham. How much money are they putting into preserving tenancies? It floors me. And so those people aren't even hitting, you know, the LTV, because they come in, they pay thousands and thousands of dollars of our money, and we wonder why our taxes are so high.
September 3rd, we're having the Hamilton crew back on. They're going to talk about all the people abusing Ontario Works and Ontario Disability. People are getting rent from the government. Meanwhile, they're not paying rent to their landlord. We have people faking leases and giving it to their workers because they're not verifying it, that it is going to that landlord. And again, they want to kind of change it to where, you know, is it a one check and not shelter cost? No, if it's going to shelter, you need to give it to the shelter. You need to give it to the landlord. You can't allow someone who is having challenges to become homeless, because it does come at a cost to the taxpayers, because we're paying for it with police. We're paying for it with our paramedics. We're paying for it in our housing cost. We're paying it through those programs, the portable housing benefit. We're paying for it through the rent relief programs. And this is where I've talked about all the time with, why are we having to go to the landlord and tenant board to evict a tenant for non-payment of rent, who refuse to go into a payment agreement, who are behind 6 months or greater on their rent, when they have access to rent relief that's out there? So I think this is where it's great that the government has came out and they've taken these orders and they're making them public, so we can kind of discourage tenants who are abusing the system from continuing. Yes. But is the adjudicator going to take that information and research it before they issue their next order on that in particular tenant? And are we going to be able to help our landlords who've had the same tenant who decided to leave thousands and thousands of dollars each landlord? Can they come together and can they actually get fraud charges on that tenant, because
should be charged
with
theft?
So put your comment, guys. Put your comments out there. Okay, we're coming up. I know I try to keep it into like an hour and 15 when I do it but an hour and a half. So bear with me. So I got landlords. We have Sarah. I'm gonna do investor or housing provider. Which one would you be called? Which one? Pick one. Rapid fire.
I would prefer an investor.
Okay. Now you're gonna get the tenants at you now. Rent control, protect tenants or discourages investments?
Discourages investment.
Who should pay for mandatory air conditioning? Should tenants pay for the that one.
Yes.
I made some notes, guys. I'm not totally freestyling it. Should municipalities create a rental rule that overlaps with provincial rules?
No.
This is what we're screaming at from the rooftops. One landlord policy you would strengthen.
Oh my gosh. Oh, there's so many.
Okay, if you need to go rapid fire, let me know. We have a little bit of time.
Okay.
We can do some reels after this, hopefully.
Damage deposits, collections. Okay, we go through all these steps and then we can't even collect. What's the point? Oh my gosh, guaranteed timelines from the LTB, like 30 days, you're out. You don't pay your rent, you're out.
You know what we should
There
do?
needs to be accountability.
Who wants to be a millionaire? But we have like RTA, landlord and tenant board trivia. Put it in the comments if you like that idea, guys.
Yeah.
One tenant policy you would change.
Oh my gosh. I don't even know. I don't know. I don't. That's so bad. I'm so pro landlord. I can't. I do. You know what I say? I wish that tenants could. Gosh. Report their
You know
bad.
what?
Oh
They
my gosh.
have everything, Sarah. You're having trouble because they have everything. They have the
Yeah.
Residential Intensity Act. They have the Landlord and Tenant Board. They have municipal counselors. They have municipal property standards. Like, what more can you ask for? You have a lot of units that are underneath rent control. Maybe remove rent control on units
Oh gosh. Yes. Please.
beyond 2018 in exchange for a more fair and balanced rent control throughout, because we can't have people having their cost increase and then still pass that increase can't pass that increase on the tenants.
Yeah.
That would probably
You know, I do my poor tenants, because I've been going through LTB with this one person that, you know, they raided, they found a gun, and my poor tenants have to live next to these people for over almost coming up on a year, and they have children, and I'm like, and they're too scared to come forward. So, you know, maybe they don't have to come and be a witness. I don't know, because they're scared of other tenants and their families. So there's that. I don't know what the solution is.
One thing government is getting completely wrong about housing. I'm going to answer this one too. So you go.
That we're the villain? You go. You answer. What's your answer?
I would say that the nonprofit and the co-ops and government housing is going to be the answer. You know what I mean? I think we need to like look at these individual people who like are just trying to make ends meet just like the rest of us, and that they're just trying to pass on some savings onto getting extra income. And I think that's where, why get cost of taxpayer the cost of what, over $400,000 per unit to create one affordable or deeply
It
affordable
blows my
unit?
mind.
Meanwhile, you can convince this poor little old lady, little old man to create a secondary suite in their basement for like $70,000, $80,000, but they're not going to do it if the rules of how to manage their rental unit is going to like literally put them in hell. Like, it's hell. Like,
Oh, these
if you get-
EDUs drive me crazy. That is the solution, is an EDU. I'm like, I'm like, I feel bad for anybody that builds an ADU and puts exactly like that. A little old man decides, I'm going to put to an ADU and have a tenant, and now it's a disaster.
And it's not only that, it's like there's programs that the municipalities are advertising with your taxpayer money to say, if you want to do a rental unit in your unit, you can get between $10,000 up to do it. So people think, wow, that's a great idea. You know, I'm struggling for food. I'm struggling with my utilities. I'm struggling with my property taxes. I'm going to take this opportunity now, not knowing what it's really like to be a landlord or a housing provider or investor in Ontario. And then they get tortured by someone who's taken advantage of them because they're not prepared into doing the type of screening that they need to do. We're not animals, but at the same time, we've allowed a certain class of tenants to take advantage of the vulnerable landlords that are out there, and you're enabling them. You're enabling that type of behavior. So I think this is where government needs to sit down and get their head in check. But again, when they come out to do these type of policy changes that do make sense, the opposition, so the NDP, are going to eat them up. They're going to try to gaslight the public. They're going to gaslight the media and making it look like they're vindictive. No, you got to have consequences. I got 4 kids. Like, you need to put consequences in place for people so that they don't continue to keep doing it.
Yes, consequences, accountability. You can't just keep destroying property and then be able to walk and then nothing.
Yeah. And again, like, The landlords are fed up. The nonprofits are set up. You think co-ops are going to be something just because people think that they own a section of their unit? You think that they're going to contribute to keeping that place clean and viable, and that, with rising inflation cost to everything is going to make sense? No, but it looks good in media. So pay attention. Don't pay attention to the gaslighting of it, everything. I got one final question. If you were in charge of Ontario housing policy tomorrow, what are 5 things you would change?
Oh, 5 things I would change. Oh my gosh, I think I said it.
You're in charge.
Yeah, I want to see damage deposits.
What black is out, you're in.
Oh my gosh, we're going to have damage deposits when you damage my property. I am so tired of tenants skipping on their leases and having no accountability. There is no collections whatsoever. And the pest control. Why is that when you bring in cockroaches and fleas and, oh my gosh, bed bugs? Why is that my responsibility?
Yeah.
No. And then I would love to see leases ending. Of course, grandfather everybody else in. And I want to see rent control gone.
You know what? And I think that's a part of like Bill 60 that got us all excited, because I swear I thought I was.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
I'm like, am I having a stroke right now? Did this government do what we really needed them to do? Is this going to be happening where it would prevent people from doing bad faith evictions because it just makes sense financially for them? So many people are moving in and disrupting their family, even divorcing their spouse in order to get inside of their unit, and they will stay there because they don't want to go belly up, but they want to own the property. They just need to make the numbers to make sense. So a lot of these tenants don't quite get where these landlords come from, because you know what? Like, I was 18 when I bought my property with my husband. I never knew I could actually own a property. I'm like, we're 18. Like, are you serious? We can buy a property right now? Like, really? And it is hard. It is extremely hard. But this is the information that needs to come to the people who are in high school right now. And I can tell you right now, my kid, who is 6 years old, he's now getting contracts to pick up beer empties. I'm telling you guys, he is 6. And he's talking to his cousin and saying, hey, does your dad drink beer? Like, that is the hustle that these landlords and these housing providers, contribute to the next generation, because we've created a generation of people who want to go to the concert. They want to travel to Dominican and Mexico and BC, and they want to get that nice car and not a piece of shit car that may not last them. But these are the situations that we're also now dealing with as a complex and generation of this XB millennial. I don't know, but I don't want to be an attack of the boomers right now, because everyone blames the boomers for the type of government we have today. But you're not going to continue to keep blaming our government when you're not getting involved.
What kills me, Kayla, is I got my first car, brand new car, when I was 40 years old. I had used cars. I don't understand why everybody thinks that, I get a brand new unit and I can't afford it. No, I can't afford a Bentley or a Mercedes. I drive a Toyota. And it's the same with housing. Why do you think if you are not working, or, you're just coming out, like, we all have to work our way up? Why do you get a brand new apartment and you think that it's going to be $1,000? It's not. That's not how it works.
I want people to do a little road trip for me too. And if you've done a road trip, tag me in it, because I've been road tripping into Rochester, New York. I've been going into Detroit. I've been road tripping and I absolutely love it. I'm behind on posting, but I want you to go look at their properties. Go look at their properties. Look at the entitlement that we have here in Canada versus what we have in the US. Mm-hmm. But look at their tax base. Look at our tax base. So you kind of you pay for what you get. Like, you can't ask for, you're asking for a Ferrari for the price that you would pay for, a Hyundai. We have to understand that, things come at a cost. You're not on the street. You're not freezing of like getting hypothermia. Like we've realized that, people want all these bedrooms, back in the day, people are totally fine cramming a whole bunch of kids in there, but now it's not so good for overcrowding with your insurance or for your municipality. But take a little road trip. I think we got to realize what's actually happening within our municipalities, within our country, and stop blaming these landlords that are just regular people. And I'm tired of these tenants out there to say, get a job, get a real job. And it's like, please.
We
like,
have, and we worked our asses off
Yeah,
for that,
you
every
think the
single
bank-
dollar.
Yeah, the bank just lends out money to people with no jobs. Like, and I love the comments. And if you're a tenant that has that mindset, leave your comment, because I hope that our landlords are sending this video to their elected officials and they can see what those comments are like. And that's why I would never shy away from having a debate with a tenant online, because the tenants, how they think and how the elected officials are going to view them is like, this is what we put up with. This is our customer base. But I do want to end tonight off with a shout out to the amazing tenants that are out there.
Yes.
This is a business. We wouldn't have a business if we didn't have our good tenants who pay their rent on time, who take care of the property like it's their own, and literally make being a landlord the best thing ever, which would, possess me to go buy another one. And just be so understanding when we try to explain, like, yes, you're having that issue. You have a lot of flooding right now, and they're so understanding. We have flooding in Niagara, St. Catharines, Ottawa, Cambridge. Like, we've had flooding. We have rodents because we have bi-weekly garbage pickup, and they're being understanding to us. So shout out to the good tenants that are out there, and landlords, it's your duty to help them. Like, help your good tenants, report that tenancy record, help them build their credit. So when there is that little dip in the market where they can be potentially homeowners themselves, you've helped them build that credit in order to help them qualify for the mortgage, because that's the next step, is having the down deposit, having the good credit, having the good income, and having the bank or the credit union lend you that money so that you can be a housing provider. Before I go, I always want to hear the last word from my guest and honestly co-host. And I think she's becoming a little ambassador for our landlords here in Chatham, because she's a feisty one and a property manager. So where can people find you? And give us some thought process to encourage other landlords to like advocate, to get involved in elections. Like, give us some words of wisdom, Sarah.
Oh my gosh, words of wisdom. Oh, so I'm with Paragon Property Management. You can find me at sarah@paragonpropertymanagement.ca. I am a landlord advocate. Stumbled into it. Don't even know how.
I was like, I Googled you.
Oh my gosh. I think it's just because the voices, we need to be heard, and we're not loud enough. So make sure you're loud. If you don't know how, reach out. Oh my gosh, Kayla is amazing, but reach out if you do not know what to do. Like when we're going in and we're doing these resolutions and these deputations, there's nobody else there. But then you ask them, they're like, well, we don't know what to do. So ask us, how do we get involved? How do we, and it's not even about making change. It's just making our voices heard, because we're not loud enough. There's not enough of us. But yeah, reach out anytime. I will talk advocacy and policy with you.
Oh, she's going to be on again. She's going to keep us in the loop of what's happening in Chatham, who we're going to vote for in Chatham. Make your voices heard, and understand that she is doing so much on the back end of things, guys, that I want to thank you, Sarah, for being a part of this, because you're absolutely amazing. And I can't wait until we get together in our in-person event, because I love in-person events. We have to start not counting on everything on social media. So, all right, guys, we're going to leave it here for tonight. But I wanted to say something before we go, because after everything we've talked about tonight, I hope one thing is clear, that the housing crisis isn't going to be solved by blaming landlords. It's not going to be solved by blaming tenants. And it's definitely not going to be solved by politicians creating another rule, another license, another fee, another requirement, and expecting someone else to absorb the cost. Because at the end of the day, somebody pays. And when we make it harder, more expensive, and more risky to provide housing, we shouldn't be surprised when fewer people want to provide it. That's not political. That's reality. And I think we need to stop having housing conversations where only one side gets a microphone. Tenants deserve to be heard. Landlords deserve to be heard. Taxpayers deserve to be heard. And quite frankly, the people who are actually willing to put their own money on the line to provide housing deserve to be heard too. So tonight, Sarah and I challenged each other. We probably didn't agree on everything, which I think we did actually.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the point, because Kayla Unfiltered isn't about everyone agreeing with me. It's about asking the questions. It's about challenging the answers. It's about having the conversations that sometimes make people uncomfortable. And I want you to keep the conversation going. So if something tonight made you angry, if you think something on here tonight made you think, share it. It's completely cool to disagree with us. Share it, because I would rather have 1,000 people argue respectfully about housing than 1,000 people sitting quietly while policies are being made that affect all of us. And here's what I want you watching tonight to do. Look at your local council. Look at your municipal candidates. Look at their housing policies. And when someone tells you, I support affordable housing, ask them, okay, how? How are you going to make it easier to provide? How are you going to keep rental housing available? And how are you going to protect tenants? And how are you going to protect housing providers? And most importantly, who pays? Because those questions matter. We're going to be back in 2 weeks, and I promise you we're not done. We're going to keep pulling back the curtains. We're going to keep asking the uncomfortable questions, and we're going to keep challenging politicians, policies, and yes, sometimes each other. So make sure you're following us, subscribing to our YouTube channel. It's not mine, it's us, because I've been doing this for since 2010. Turn on the notifications. And if you think someone else needs to hear this conversation, send them this show, because the housing conversation is too important to leave the politicians, the lobby groups, or social media arguments. We all have a stake in this. I'm Kayla Andrade. This is Kayla Unfiltered. And remember, don't just complain about housing. Question the policies creating it. Good night, everyone. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye, Sarah.
Bye.